College basketball is about to get underway. We have your Quinnipiac preview. Quinnipiac men's and women's ice hockey both started conference play. And finally, fall sports are wrapping up in Hamden. We'll give you the best of the season. All that and more. This is an hour-long edition of Bobcat Breakdown. Hello and welcome to Bobcat Breakdown. I'm Brian Schwartz. Starting off this jam-packed episode at the desk is Q30 Sports basketball beat reporters Josh Silverman and Dylan Fearon. Guys, you ready to hit the hardwood?
Thankfully, we're finally here because Josh has been talking smack all week, and now we're finally here. We get to roll up our sleeves and ball, so let's get to work.
Dylan, I'm here. I was trying to get you here. I'm trying to get your energy
I
up.
don't need you to hype me up. I don't need you to hype me up. It's the other way around.
All right.
All right, well, let's get it started. Quinnipiac men's basketball gets its season going Saturday against Dartmouth. Baker Dunleavy makes his head coaching debut. Guys, what are your early impressions on Dunleavy? Dylan, you can start first.
There's nothing I don't like. I really like this guy a lot. He's a fantastic teacher. It's the one main thing that I've taken from watching practices. He's really meticulous about everything, attention to detail, and he's just a fantastic teacher with these players. He takes the time, he'll instruct, he'll watch, he'll analyze, and then he'll stop practice and tell his players what's going on. And he really wants his players to trust him. That's another big thing with him, is trust. Stop asking all these questions in practice. Trust me, and we'll get this thing done. And trust the process. I know we're taking something from the 76ers, but trust the process that I'm building here. Personal guy, Josh, it's just easy to like him. You know, it's just easy to like this guy. And he's done a lot with a little amount of time. Recruits, transfers, he's brought in guys. He didn't have a ton of time to build this team up. And he's done a pretty solid job so far.
I agree with that, Dylan. I feel like I talked about an hour on just this one subject, so I want to talk about what Baker's facing, and it's the analytics. And what he's facing is 6 of their 8 top scorers from last year are gone. That's over 1,500 points. They'll have about 3 new players in the lineup, Dylan. That's what we've kind of talked about, 3 new players. Their leader in minutes, 3-point percentage, free throw percentage, points, and assists are all gone last year. That's all the analytics. That's what I think the MAC looked at. What I'm talking about now, Dylan, I'm going to introduce you to this. It's a manalytics. There's no manalytics for what Baker Dunleavy brings to this team. You said it. I mean, experience, a national championship under his belt. He's a younger guy. He can connect with his players more. You said it, Dylan. We've both been to practice. We've both been around the team. The manalytics surrounding Baker Dunleavy in this program is sky high right now. He
hasn't had a lot to really build off of, and he's taken the little that he's had, and he's probably done the best job that you could have expected out of him up to this point. But they haven't played any games yet.
No.
Haven't played any games yet, so
yeah,
we have a small sample size and just practice and getting players, but we will see Saturday against Dartmouth what he can do as a coach in the games.
We'll see what he can do as a coach, but we also saw him off the court a little bit. Josh, you caught up with Baker earlier this week, so let's check that out.
All right, Baker, thank you so much for being here. So people have gotten to know Baker Dunleavy, the coach. Now it's time to get to know Baker Dunleavy, the man behind the curtain. So we have all these index cards. You'll pick a number. I'll read the question. You haven't seen the questions yet. Some of them are a little unorthodox. Some of them are about what it was like growing up. So go ahead.
All right, love the creativity. Let's do it. 18.
All right, this is a good one to start with. If you could go anywhere in the world, where would you go?
You know what? I'll attribute this to our freshman Jacob Rigoni, and I would say Australia. Pretty far away. Have never been there. Don't know if I'll ever be able to get there. But A, I could do some recruiting there. They got some pretty good basketball players, and B, it's just one of those far away lands that you want to kind of check off your box at some point.
All right, next one.
Let's go 15.
15. Big question. Do you watch Game of Thrones?
I do more than watch. I'll read an occasional blog. I'm a huge fan because I'm always I love the show, but I do find myself getting really confused at times. So I got to Google some things and figure some things out on my own just to make sure I'm up on the story.
Have you read the books?
I have not read the books. But love the show. avid fan. I'm really disappointed that there will come a time soon where it is no longer.
I know we have to wait 2 years. Who's your favorite character?
We have to wait 2 years for the next season?
Yeah.
That's really disappointing. My favorite character would probably, he's dead, was probably Joffrey. I thought Joffrey really brought a lot of...
What? Joffrey's my favorite character?
He brought a lot to the table. I don't think he wasn't likable, but I think that guy always had tricks up his sleeve and added to the plot line. How about number 5?
If we were to play each other in one-on-one,
Sure.
to 21, what would the score be?
Well, I don't know your game.
It's not very good. I did 2 pull-ups and then had to take a nap.
All right, there we go.
Not very athletic.
You know, I think you might get a couple points off me. I'll say 21 to 3 because my conditioning is not where it needs to be, and you look like you might be able to make a shot. How about to finish us off? Let's go with number 10.
All right, you're happiest when you're doing what?
Oh wow, I think certainly happiest at home with family and my kids. But you know, outside of that, what makes a coach happiest, honestly, is just being at practice. You know, and that's been one cool thing about the adjustment to being a head coach, is being able to run practice, plan practice, decide like, all right, where are we? What do we need to get better with? And so, certainly at home, you know, hanging out with my kids, playing in the yard, like there's nothing better than that. It's such a great outlet. But when I'm at work, you know, the games I'm sure will be great, but the improvement, just the day-to-day ability to just get with your guys and grind on the practice floor is really what makes a coach's job enjoyable.
Well, great. Thank you. That's a great way to end it. Thank you so much for this, and good luck this season.
Enjoyed it. We'll do it again.
Game of Thrones, thinking of a jump shot. Josh, seems like you and Baker are the perfect match, right?
Yeah, I mean, I want to get on the court with him. I was ready to do that. I posted up Shane. I don't know if you saw that.
Joffrey?
You saw it.
Joffrey?
I mean, look, it's bold, but Baker's a bold man. That's what I like about him.
I respect it.
Well, this team's at the bottom of the MAC preseason poll. So what would you guys consider a successful season for the Bobcats?
Dylan, I'll start with this one. First thing, most importantly, develop Rich Kelly. Freshman, I mean, I watched his highlight tape. We'll get to that in a bit. His high school highlight tape, that is. But he's a dynamic player. He's going to start for them this year. And I think it would be a disappointment if he doesn't make the all-rookie team at the end of the year. So that's the number one priority, is just developing the young talent, making sure this program takes a step forward. And so what does that mean? Obviously, finishing 11th is not, you know, that's what they were projected to finish in the preseason poll. Right. So finishing 11th is not something that's really acceptable for this team, although if they were to finish 11, I guess it would be expected. Although I've talked
so finishing 10th to you, success?
In the eyes of just progress, I guess. But for me, it's more the fact, can they be competitive in the MAC? Can they not have blowouts? Can they, you know, they lost a couple games by 4, 5, 6, 7 points last year. Can those games then be in Quinnipiac's favor? And with the step back in talent, one could say, with all the transfers and graduates, that would be a step forward in my eyes.
Well, look, technically a success in the eyes of the MAC coaches would be 10th in the conference, right? They only had 10 wins last year, so more than that. And they didn't win in the MAC tournament, so maybe one win, a first round win.
They haven't won in a couple years.
Right, correct, 3 years. So a win in the MAC tournament first round would technically be a success. But for me, in my eyes, they have to win at least 14 games to be a success. 7th in the MAC or better and win a game in Albany. Just in my opinion, because if you go 11 and 19.
Did you say 7th best?
7th in the MAC. 7th in the MAC or better.
Okay.
Right? 6th, whatever.
So 8th's a failure?
Correct. Okay. I don't think that's a success. Technically a step in the right direction. It's not a success for me.
Okay. All right.
Luckily, they only play 18 MAC games this year. Used to play 20, both teams at home and away. This year, just 18. So they don't have to play Monmouth twice, Josh, or Iona twice, which is huge. 2 of the best 3 teams. So I think you're talking about good MAC wins and playing well against MAC teams. That's an advantage because you don't play 2 of the best 3 teams twice. You only see them once. That's an advantage in my eyes. So I think 14 wins because of those 2 games that you're not playing in MAC play, you play in them in out-of-conference. So they have an easier out-of-conference schedule than in past years. There's no Gonzaga or Seton Hall. I think they can really get 14 wins.
You realize, though, 20 to 18 would not increase the win total, though.
What do you mean?
Not playing Monmouth and Iona would not increase the win total.
I just said it. By not playing those games, you're including 2 extra out-of-conference games that are probably going to be easier than Iona in my eyes.
But that's not going to help with the MAC tournament, though, at the end of the season.
No, of course not.
I mean, I don't disagree with you.
But if you're the 7th seed, you're playing the if you're the 7th seed, you're playing the 10.
Right.
Technically a team worse than you, which I think they would be able to win.
Okay.
All right, well, Quinnipiac has 1 representative on an all-MAC squad, and that's Shays Daniels on the 3rd team. So, guys, is he going to be the best player on this team? Josh, I know you have a little different of a viewpoint on this.
I can't wait to hear this.
I got to warm up.
I can't wait to hear this.
I got to warm up for this one. So, first of all, you mentioned it with Chase. Chase gets all the respect from me. 51% field goal percentage last year. He's a dynamic player. I think if you're going to ask for the most well-rounded player on the team, the player that I'm going to look for, yeah, it's Chase.
I don't want to hear well-rounded. Who's the best player on the team?
Well, I gotta pay my respect to Chase. I gotta pay my respect to Rich Kelly. Because
he's the best player.
I watched his highlight tape. He phenomenal. The way he facilitates, from the point,
Sure.
where he shoots. Problem is, I've never seen him play in college, and he's never played
Who's
in
the
college.
best player?
Andrew Robinson, okay? And here's why. Of the players in a Quinnipiac uniform, he's the highest three-point percentage. I've watched him in practice. I mean, his shot has developed even more. And you're going to bring him some stuff.
Percentage? It's 34%.
Yes.
Okay. That's not that good.
Okay. It is what it is. This team will shoot a lot of threes this year. They're down 7. I mentioned they lost a lot of games last year by 4, 5, 6, 7. One of those games they only lost by a couple because of him. Okay. One of his 5 3-point games. He has a couple under his belt. 2
out of 30 games last year. Let me just stop you there. Stop it. He only averaged 4 points per game last year. You understand that, right?
I understand.
Barely played. He's a 3-and-D guy. Never in basketball history. I dare anyone to give me a player on a team that was strictly on the court for 3-and-D and was the team's best player. He is not starting this year. He's not starting. He will be the 8th man, 7th or 8th man, along with his brother, Jacob Bergoni, Bundu coming off the bench. He's not starting. So if you're saying the best player is not even going to start.
No,
right?
I'm saying you get him going. You feed him those corner shots. Boom, boom, boom. They're going to fall.
Want to address
We're going to see him in the starting lineup by January.
Look at this graphic. 10 total steals, right? In 2 years.
I'm not picking him for his steals. I'm picking him for his three-point percentage. For his three-point shooting.
But he's only going to play 15 minutes a game. He also
in the beginning, maybe.
I see your notes right there. What is his flaw? He can't dribble.
Okay.
He struggles to dribble the basketball. Doesn't have great handles. I have all the respect for him. I like the guy, but he is not the best player. Not even close to the best player. Not even close. It's obviously Chase Daniels, All-MAC third-team player, 13.6 rebounds and 2 blocks last year, and shot 51% from the field. And in the eyes of the MAC, he is one of the best big men in the league. And you're saying he's not the best player on the team.
Well, top 6 net.
He's one of the best big men in the league.
Yeah, Chase is a great player. Andrew Robinson, you have not even seen him in this role yet.
What role?
He's still progressing.
It's show up on the court and shoot the rock. And I've seen that the last 2 years. And he shot 34%.
They are missing 1,500 points from last year. Okay?
So that automatically means that Andrew Robinson is the best player on the team.
No, it doesn't. But Andrew Robinson, this team's going to shoot a lot of threes this year.
Yeah, you started
They're shooting
this
a lot.
argument.
They're shooting a lot of them in their
Shays is really
scrimmages.
good.
Yeah, he's a phenomenal player. That's why he was voted third.
Was Andrew Robinson on an All-MAC team?
No, he
wasn't.
He's only started 1 game in his career. At Harvard, because of his dad. He's only started 1 game. And he has 5.32 games.
Out of 30.
Because he's not getting the reps.
Why?
Because
he's not the best
still
player on
working
the
on
team.
his game, though. He's still working on it.
All right, guys,
are you getting better every year
see.
on the desk?
We'll see this season as it starts
but
on
I was
Saturday.
getting reps.
But you have to realize, you keep going though. People graduate, right? I'm getting opportunities now that I wasn't getting last year.
Well, why isn't he starting then?
He will be starting.
Really?
Yes,
I want to hear it right now.
Starting
when?
at 3.
By when?
January 18th. Mark it down right on your sheet.
I'm writing it down.
It's on the record right now. January 18th.
And
because he's going to be nailing those shots. Yep.
Not because of an injury to someone else, but because he's good enough.
Because he's outperformed the player. Yeah.
Okay, fine. And we'll see, and you'll be wrong, clearly.
Okay.
And we'll see. No disrespect, he's good. And I think he'll be a role player, yes.
I feel like this is you and Maury right now.
I miss him.
That's
what Jaden thinks. Jaden Daly says I look like you.
All right, guys, well, it's time to take a quick break. These guys will stick around to talk some women's hoops, so don't move a muscle. We'll be right back.
Coming up on #that, we talk about some fun events around Quinnipiac's campus.
And we talk about some weird news that's been discussed around Twitter.
All that and more, we are your source for Quinnipiac's entertainment news.
Whether you're on the quad,
in your room,
or heading to class.
Tune in to Q30 News.
For stories by student journalists you can trust.
We are covering the latest here on campus and in surrounding areas.
Get the news you need to know every Wednesday night.
Hello, and tonight on Sandwich News, we will determine what makes a good sandwich and a bad sandwich. First, the standard sandwich. Uninspired, and frankly, a little gross. But we have here a Ray and Mike sandwich, the Cadillac of sandwiches. And if you want one, well,
come on down to Ray and Mike's at 3030 Whitney Ave, Hamden, Connecticut. Open every day from 6 a.m. to 10 p.m. QCash is accepted.
now that's a sandwich.
Welcome back to Bobcat Breakdown. The Quinnipiac women's basketball team is coming off a historic Sweet 16 run. It was just tabbed as the #1 team in the MAC preseason poll. They topped the College Insider mid-major rankings as well. Guys, are expectations too high for Trisha Fabry's team this year? Dylan, you can start.
That depends. My expectation for them is to win the MAC regular season, to win the MAC tournament, and go to the NCAA tournament. I don't even expect them to win a game. And you can't expect a mid-major team to win a game every single year. You just can't. Last year was special, and that's why it was so special, because it doesn't happen all the time. You don't just go to the NCAA tournament as a mid-major and win 2 games and go to the Sweet 16. They did lose Natalie Martucci and Morgan Mans. So I don't even expect them to go there and win a game. But I do expect them to get there, because they're clearly the best team in the MAC. Clearly.
I mean, you made a great point.
But hold on, 1 second. For themselves, they might expect themselves to get back to the Sweet 16. And I don't think that's fair. I think just getting there is enough. Obviously, you want to improve every single year and improve as a program. So I guess, is their expectation going to the Elite Eight? Because that's just not going to happen realistically. Just have to understand that in this year, they will not be getting to the Elite Eight. But I expect them to get to the tournament. So my expectation is get to the tournament. I don't think they're going to fall below that. I think they will get there. But if they think they're getting to the Sweet 16, I think it's too high.
What are you saying about mid-major not always winning a game in the tournament? I mean, that goes over to men's basketball. Iona looking for their third straight, and both times that they've won the past 2 years, they haven't won a game in the tournament. So it's a tall task to ask for the team. If they're not playing in the NCAA tournament, and they're not getting that large bid, because that just doesn't come out of the MAC
especially with the out-of-conference teams that they have, which we'll get to.
If they're not in the NCAA tournament, it's a lost season, because they're graduating a couple of players. It seems like it's going to wait a bit because Paul Charbonnet and Erin McClure and Jen Fay, after she redshirted, they'll all be the same age.
Right.
It's just...
That's why it was so special last year, Brian.
Well, with Quinnipiac developing into a premier program in the nation, the opponents will become tougher. They begin the season playing teams like Iowa and Ohio State. So, Josh, is their out-of-conference schedule too tough to start the season?
First of all, I'm sure you know this, Dylan, even though you're going to disagree with me.
Of course.
They schedule their own schedule.
Oh, I understand.
Right, they pick their opponents.
For sure.
So I just want to make sure we've established that for the viewers, for you. This team, we just established it, will need to in order to make the NCAA tournament, they have to win the MAC. That's
correct.
That's a fact. So if that is the only way they make it, why not use these out-of-conference gifts to see how you match up against some of the toughest teams?
I completely agree with that. But it's too much. There's no gimme games.
Why do you need a gimme game, though? Why do you need it?
Because you have sort of a new team.
This team, led by Trish Fabry.
Hold on. I let you talk.
Yes, yeah,
right. Okay. Teams like to schedule give-me games at home against teams not as good as them, so you can win and you learn how to win. These games are so tough. Let me just read off how tough the schedule is. They start the season against Iowa.
All right, he's going to read this. I'm just going to go to sleep real quick. All right.
20 wins for Iowa last year. Then they play Missouri or Western Kentucky based on how they do against Iowa. Western Kentucky made the NCAA tournament. Missouri, SEC. Then they have to go to Ohio State. 28 wins, Josh, Big Ten regular season champions, and the Sweet 16 appearance last year. Then you think, oh, they played Northern Colorado. They won 22 games last year. Dayton, 22 games, NCAA tournament. At Richmond, seems like an easy win because they're not that good, but you're on the road against an A-10 team. At Hampton, 20 wins, NCAA tournament. Providence, not that good, but Big East. And Princeton, not that good, but WNIT last year. Michigan State, NCAA tournament. Central Michigan, 22 wins in WNIT. It just goes on and on and on. There's no game you can see, and they'll definitely win that game. And I think for a team like that, it's good to schedule those tough games because, as you said, there's going to be probably no at-large. But it's good to schedule a couple of easy games, especially early on. They play 11 out-of-conference games. They only play 4 at Hamden. That's just not how out-of-conference schedules go. Especially when you're in the Sweet 16, I would have expected a couple of home games early on that you could just win and get the season rolling. But instead, you're getting thrown into the wolves automatically with Iowa, probably Missouri, Western Kentucky, and then Ohio State. It just doesn't end.
Do you know why these other teams don't need a gimme game at home? They're not coached by Trisha Fabry.
What are other teams?
You said you need a gimme game at home, right?
You're talking about teams have easy games at home and out of conference to start the season.
Trisha Fabry's teams, they don't need that.
They have had them in the past.
Right, but they don't need that now because now they're validated. They know they can beat these teams because they've done it in the NCAA tournament.
Mentally, just being
but mentally they know
saying we won by 20 at home.
They've done it. They know they're going to dominate the MAC. They want to see how Jen Fay, how Carly Fabry, how Erin McClure. They want to get Erin McClure as many reps against teams that she will potentially see in the NCAA tournament as possible. The score doesn't matter.
I can't deny that, but you say they're going to dominate the MAC, probably the regular season, but who knows in the tournament what happens. Crazy things happen all the time in championship games.
Right, they were upset when Maria Napolitano went down.
Correct.
But it doesn't matter because this team, now they have the confidence. That team, the year before, they lost in the NCAA tournament. This team now won 2 games, record-setting.
Hard to argue. I just wanted 1 or 2 games, Brian. That would have been easy for them.
We'll see, but one of the biggest pieces on this team sits beside Trisha Fabry, and that's on the sidelines. It's assistant coach Mountain McGilvery. Q30 Sports women's basketball beat reporter Shane Dennehy sat down with Mountain after practice a couple days ago, so let's check that out.
You guys got a really tough out-of-conference schedule with Ohio State, Michigan State, Iowa, possibly Missouri, depending on how you do in that early season tournament. What are the benefits of playing such a tough out-of-conference schedule?
Well, I think you want your practices to be, the hardest thing you see all the time. But if you can find games on your schedule that can even give you more than you saw in practice and demand more of you than you got in practice, that really prepares you for conference play. So that if you can keep your intensity level at the level you need to be able to compete against teams of that caliber, if you can do that in conference play, I think you can have a lot of success. So, really we have one goal every year, and that is to win the conference regular season and then go on and win the conference tournament. The non-conference schedule has us prepared to do that.
And obviously you talked about preseason awards. Erin McClure picked his preseason MAC Player of the Year. How proud are you of her?
The kid comes and works hard every single day. She's really improves her perimeter game. But, you see the game. She makes things happen for our team. Whether it's rebounding, steals, assists, scoring the ball, good things happen when the ball's in her hands. And I thought it was very nice that the coaches, in the conference see that and picked her first.
All right, so obviously last year you guys wanted to make it to the Sweet 16. What's your goal for this season?
We want to be better than we were last year, and there's a lot of different ways to do that. But that's our goal really for every year. We want to get a little bit better. We want to, obviously I told you our goals regular season. We want to win the regular season in the MAC. We want to win the conference championship tournament. But we want to try to improve every year and be a little bit better than the year we were before. That doesn't mean going beyond the Sweet 16. Obviously that would be fantastic, but that might mean getting an 8 seed. Getting a higher seed than anyone in school history's ever gotten. Maybe getting the highest seed maybe the MAC's ever gotten. I don't know what that would be. But making some history again, that's the goal. And that can come in any form, and we'll see what form that comes in by the time the season's over.
Dylan, you love Mountain, don't you?
It's clear he loves his job. He's meticulous about details, and he just knows the game of basketball. I know Josh likes to point out the fact that he has 7 kids. I don't know if that relates to basketball in any way. I know you thought that, no?
Well, it's just the fact that, he's got such a home life that is, if you were to tell someone they have 7 kids, it's got to, totally take over your life. He's able to do that and be an
Brian,
assistant coach.
I don't want to get into it with him. Just take it away. I don't want to get into it with him.
Well, it's time to say goodbye to Josh and Dylan. Guys, it was a pleasure as always. We'll do a line change now as we shift our focus to the ice. MJ Baird and Naomi Gray will join me to discuss Quinnipiac men's and women's ice hockey right after this.
tonight on Sandwich News, we will determine what makes a good sandwich and a bad sandwich. First, the standard sandwich. Uninspired and frankly, a little gross. But we have here a Ray and Mike sandwich, the Cadillac of sandwiches. And if you want one, well,
come on down to Ray and Mike's at 3030 Whitney Ave, Hamden, Connecticut. Open every day from 6 a.m. to 10 p.m. QCash is accepted.
Now that's a sandwich.
Welcome to the WQAQ Morning Show. Dan Ball and Emma Spagnolo joining you here from the QAQ studios in Hamden. And Emma, it is that time of year again.
Coming up on #that, we talk about some fun events around Quinnipiac's campus.
And we talk about some weird news that's been discussed around Twitter.
All that and more, we are your source for Quinnipiac's entertainment news.
Welcome back inside Studio 125 for Bobcat Breakdown. Joining me now are Q30 Sports ice hockey beat reporters MJ Baird and Naomi Gray. How's it going, guys?
It's going great. How you doing, MJ?
I'm happy to be here. I mean, on the desk with you today, Naomi and Brian. I think we're ready to dive right in.
All right, well, let's do it. Quinnipiac men's ice hockey dropped 2 games this weekend as they opened up their conference slate. Quinnipiac lost to Cornell and Colgate, putting them in an 0-2 hole in the ECAC. So, Naomi, you could start with this one. What were your takeaways from this weekend?
I have to say that I was completely disappointed with the Bobcats' efforts this weekend. Defensively, they completely crumbled. And the fact that this is their first time in 12 years dropping the first 2 ECAC games is definitely alarming. They completely, like I said, struggled defensively. They were just making crazy plays, allowing Cornell and Colgate to have some breakaways that resulted, obviously, with them getting pucks in the back of the net. And I think that Pecknold, post-game, he just was saying that, you know, the team wasn't mentally there. They were making mental mistakes. And for me, that's like, what do you mean by mentally? You guys are just completely coming off of a bye week. So you guys should be prepared for this. You guys are playing in front of your home crowd. And I think the energy should have been there in more ways than none.
You speak about the bye week, and Rand Pecknold said, too, he thought the Thursday and Saturday before the off weekend were their best practices of the year. So to come out and, honestly, to be blunt, to lay an egg after an off week with 2 of your best practices of the year, it really comes down to one thing, and that's a lack of effort. I have 3 different quotes here from 3 players, or 2 players and a coach on the team, and this was on Monday at Media Day or after the games. Rand Pecknold, we have guys having bad shifts and not being able to shake it off. Chase Prisky, we needed to play with more heart. And Landon Smith, we need to pay attention to details. I mean, those 3 things in your first weekend of conference play at home, you mentioned it, they haven't lost 2 in a row to start the ECAC since they've been in the conference.
Exactly.
They haven't lost 2 in a row or been swept on a weekend since February of 2014. Fun fact, it was Colgate and Cornell who did it last time too. So to have a bad game Friday is one thing. You're playing Cornell, it's a good team. But to come out and do that again on Saturday, that is really what worries me, and that's my biggest takeaway. To have back-to-back bad games, they really need to come out better, at least I think, this Friday on the road.
Absolutely.
Well, Bobcats scored just 1 goal Friday and 1 goal Saturday, prompting this question. Who is the go-to goal scorer? MJ, is there even one?
That right about answers the question, Brian. They don't have one. Quinnipiac men's ice hockey does not have a go-to goal scorer. I'm going to list a couple names of people who I think could and or should be the go-to goal scorer, but I'm coming up empty, Naomi.
Wow, okay.
Landon Smith should be the one. He's not. I mean, he's a complimentary guy more than anything. Alex Whalen, so far, I guess you could call him the go-to goal scorers. He does lead the team with 4, but that's just not the kind of player he is, at least I don't think. Craig Martin, I talked to a lot of people before the season. They thought he would be the guy to step up. Well, 1 goal, 2 assists so far this year. Not really impressing me in that category as far as not stepping up as the go-to guy. Nick Germain, he has the skill, but 3 assists on the year, no goals. That's not a go-to goal scorer. And finally, Odin Tufto, the freshman. I just personally don't think that's the kind of player Tufto is. He's more of the complimentary guy, like I said, with Landon Smith. There is no Matthew Pekka-like guy. There is no Sam Annis-like guy. No Jones twins-like guys. Even like a Tim Clifton who could put the puck in the net at least somewhat reliably. They don't have one.
I'm going to have to disagree with you completely. I mean, Odin Tufto, not at all, Mr. Top 10 SC at all. No? I mean, like, come on.
It's a nice goal, sure.
Yeah, absolutely. But also in that game, Vermont, the overtime game, I mean, he scored not only his first goal of his career, but also helped the team win in overtime. So I think that he definitely, at this point right now, I would try to get the puck in his possession to get it in the back of the net. Absolutely. He shows a lot of promise, and I think that he's been picking up the team in points where they kind of looked like there was no hope. I think that he's definitely been a nice shining light as a freshman to come in and contribute in the aspects that he has been. I think that he definitely could be a go-to goal scorer.
And that's a good point. Rand Pecknold did say, even though this weekend was tough for them, he liked the way Odin Tufto played on Friday night. That was one of the only bright spots he talked about on Saturday after the game. But Brian, do me one more favor. Repeat the question again.
Who is the go-to goal scorer?
And I think that's the key there.
Yeah.
The freshman coming in, has he been it so far? Sure. But ECAC tournament, down a goal in Game 3 of the first-round playoff series, I'm not looking to Odin Tufto. Sorry.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm sticking with him. I'm not going to change my mind on that. I think, like I said, he has a lot of promise. We haven't seen enough from him. We haven't seen a lot from the team, actually. So I think that down the stretch, about 5 more games in, I feel like we could be able to analyze that type of question a little bit better.
Sure.
Well, 2 more of the most important players on this team are in goal. That's Andrew Shortridge and Keith Petruzzelli. Q30 Sports men's ice hockey beat reporter Kyle Lavasser sat down with Quinnipiac goalie coach Jared Wayman at the touchscreen to dissect some key plays. Kyle, take it away.
What is it about being decisive that leads to goalie success?
That's good. It's definitely like a key pillar or principle of what I like to emphasize, obviously, with the goaltenders. For me, what it does is the net's only so big, so if you make a decision and it works out, great. If it doesn't work out or the decision doesn't feel right, you at least know where you are and you know where you have to go. His poise, which is a key aspect of his game, he lets the play develop. He doesn't get doesn't move too much or too early. And the biggest thing is the gap. So right here, you can just leave it right here. He plays a little deeper than some guys, but he holds his ground. You can see his stance, his positioning right there is excellent. His eyes are down on the puck, and he lets that player make the first move. Same thing you would teach an 8 or 9-year-old, and he responds confidently. So the decision, as we were talking about before, was for him to hold his ground, and he decided to let that player make the first move, trusting his save selection and his tracking, and he made a nice little fun breakaway save there. It's a great clip here. So as you can see, Cornell, they're known for their big, strong presence on the ice. Assistant coaches did a great job getting the pre-scout, knowing that they're going to take net jams and a lot of plays towards the net. So this is the strength of Andrew's game, is his post play, we'd call it. Right now, he's in a reverse VH, which is the post pad is down on the ice and the back pad is up. This provides good vision down to the ice. His stick here is perpendicular to the goal line. So what happens here, by having his stick perpendicular to the goal line and being decisive, holding the post, it forces this player towards the front of the net. He doesn't give him access for a cheap goal, short side. And his eyes stay down on the puck all the way around towards the top of the net, and he knows where the other post is, and he makes that play first off the post, staying with him in the middle, and then a final play back towards the post, and then competing or recovering on the loose puck. Sure. So again, I'll call this maybe like a partial breakaway, all right? And Keith holding his ground, being decisive, okay? He's got Chase closing in on him. He's not going to be able to make an overly elaborate, fancy play, so he holds his ground. And now this is where the size is helpful, that he can make a quick play left or right and get to either post and cut off that player's access to the net. And the fact that you can see his head down, tracking that puck all the way in, he corrals that rebound. That's those little things. That's why guys get drafted, is that now there's no loose puck, okay? And you know, this player coming in backside like Marty's
no
doing.
Chance of
Yeah,
down right there.
exactly.
Thanks, Kyle. Great stuff from you and Jared there. So these two goalies have both had their highs and lows this season. Who are you guys taking in a must-win game to start in between the pipes? Shortridge or Petruzzelli? MJ, you're up first.
Brian, this one is a very easy one for me. The answer is Andrew Shortridge. I mean, who won back-to-back ECAC playoff games after losing the first on the road? It's Andrew Shortridge. Who led the ECAC goaltenders in goals against average in February last year? Andrew Shortridge. Who has the work ethic that goalie coach Jared Wayman calls, quote, virtually impeccable? Andrew Shortridge. And who got hung out to dry this weekend in 2 games played?
Andrew Shortridge.
Andrew Shortridge. I'm not saying anything bad about Petruzzelli. In fact, I'm actually high on the Detroit Red Wings prospect. I want to see him get more time.
Exactly.
But I have to go with Shortridge here. Must-win game between the pipes. It's Andrew Shortridge. He has the experience, most of all. He has the skill. And like I said, he has the work ethic that clearly the Quinnipiac coaches love.
Exactly. Like you said, Petruzzelli hasn't played enough games for us to get like a good example of what he could offer. He only played in those 2 games, 68 saves, which is good, which is definitely very good. Yeah. But he's still, like you said, he has a lot more work to do. Andrew Shortridge has been consistent nonetheless. He has allowed 11 goals, which isn't the best, but given the team that we're dealing with the Bobcats, we have to kind of look at this in a different angle. Shortridge has definitely stepped up. Last year, he also, you know, had those Rookie of the Week honors for ECAC late last season. So I think that also shows a lot of promise going forward. So he has a lot of work to do, but like you said, when it comes down to it, I'm sticking with Shortridge as well.
Funny you mentioned those, you know, Rookie of the Weeks too. He was fighting for a position as a freshman with Chris Chewell, the junior, and he beat him out towards the end of the year. He started those playoff games for Quinnipiac. So I mean, I think he's the guy. I really do.
Exactly.
Now this team has looked solid on the road and impressed in non-conference play, going 3-1 and 1. Having dropped the first 2 ECAC games, Naomi, is this start to the season a surprise?
I mean, I wouldn't completely say it's a surprise. Last season, they did drop 8 ECAC games, so it's still very early. Like I said, there's still a lot more time before we can go hard on this team. I'm going to just be a little bit more relaxed on them. I think they do have a lot more things to show. There's a lot more effort that can be made by them, but I definitely don't think it's a surprise. Last season, during this time, they dropped 1 game the same weekend and lost the next, and then came back on a 5-game winning streak in ECAC play. So I think that says a lot about the team. I think that they have a lot more things to do forward to prove themselves, get rid of this whole mental situation that they're going through, because for me, that's just too dramatic. It's like, save that for a later date. Right. We're in ECAC play. You have to completely gear up and move forward and get it together defensively, hands down. So not a surprising start. I think there definitely could be a lot more from them.
I honestly completely agree with everything you just said, except that all of what you said is surprising to me. Just because, based on what Brian said, you know, that 3-1-1 out-of-conference record, I really thought they were ready to play conference games. And the way they looked against Colgate, giving up the defensive 2-on-1s and even breakaways, that was surprising to me.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, they looked a lot more stronger with the non-conference play. They look like they could have been a stronger team going forward, but they are failing.
We'll see, we'll see. It's time to take a quick break. MJ and Naomi will stay right here to talk Quinnipiac women's ice hockey and their tough weekend. So don't touch that dial. We'll be right back.
Hello, and tonight on Sandwich News, we will determine what makes a good sandwich and a bad sandwich. First, the standard sandwich. Uninspired, and frankly, a little gross. But we have here a Ray and Mike sandwich, the Cadillac of sandwiches. And if you want one, well,
come on down to Ray and Mike's at 3030 Whitney Ave, Hamden, Connecticut. Open every day from 6 a.m. to 10 p.m. QCash is accepted.
Now that's a sandwich.
This is Sports Pause.
Are you concerned with the 0-2 start for this team? Right here, top of the circle, again, rips it past the Jasper's goalie.
What will breaking the record mean for the program himself? I mean, 138 wins.
There's the tough shot. What a nice play by Mikey Dixon.
He's good in transition. You know, just a really dynamic scorer he can create for himself.
And now, Emma, it's time for the top 5 plays of the week.
Coming up on #that, we talk about some fun events around Quinnipiac's campus.
And we talk about some weird news that's been discussed around Twitter.
All that and more, we are your source for Quinnipiac's entertainment news.
Welcome to the WQAQ Morning Show. Dan Ball and Emma Spagnolo joining you here from the QAQ studios in Hamden. And Emma, it is that time of year again.
Welcome back to Bobcat Breakdown. The Quinnipiac women's ice hockey team lost twice this weekend, but Q30 Sports women's ice hockey beat reporter Tom Krasnowski still has some positives to take away. This is Tom's take.
Thanks, Brian. It wasn't a great weekend for the Quinnipiac women's ice hockey team, which lost both of its games this weekend. The losses give the team a 1-3 conference record and an overall record of just 5-6. But in spite of the ugly weekend, let's not overlook one of the big storylines this year for the Bobcats, and that's the impact of their freshmen. Head coach Cass Turner has constructed a consistent line of freshmen comprised of center Brooke Bonsteel and wingers Taylor House and Laura Lundblad. With TT Cianfrano missing in action and Melissa Semiskevich having a frustrating season, Turner has had to lean upon her freshmen more than originally planned, and they have more than stepped up. Bonsteel is the team's leading goal scorer and is second in points, while House and Lundblad, they've played with confidence and have the look of upperclassmen on the ice. But it's more than just one line of freshmen. Grace Markey has carved out a role on the club's grind line, and backup goalie Allison Small has been solid in limited time. I'm cheating a little bit on this one, given that she's not a freshman, but if we were to extend this list to first-year Bobcats, then junior Anna Kilpinen would have to be on the list. She has excelled in her first season with Quinnipiac, quarterbacking the top power play unit with her steady touch. Turner has called her freshmen outstanding teammates with tremendous character. The upperclassmen have talked about the spark that the rookies provide and seem to love having them around. The freshmen can learn a lot from the club's recent cold stretch as they experience the ups and downs of ECAC play for the first time. Everyone's been a freshman before, and the Bobcat veterans have a lot of advice to give to the new recruits. After all, these are the players who will become the future of Quinnipiac women's hockey. The baby Bobcats are ready to pounce. Brian, back to you guys at the desk.
All right, thanks, Tom. So MJ and Naomi, like Tom talked about, TT Cianfrano has not really been a factor this year for this team. How big of a loss is Cianfrano for this team?
You want to take this one away?
Yeah, I'll start. Well, I mean, she's a huge loss, but there's nothing they can really do. She's injured. I mean, I guess the question is, where's she been? She played in 2 games, missed 9. I don't really know what you want me to say. She's injured. They have to play without her.
Right, exactly. And right now, her time coming back and what the status is of her injury is unknown to all of us. So it's kind of just like now we have to focus on our other players stepping up with her absence. And I think that we have been seeing that. We have Brooke Bond still stepping up, Sarah Ev, Kate McKenzie, all these players. We have like 10 players out of a 24-woman roster who are all been putting shots in the back of the net, which is completely impeccable for this team. So I think the team is doing just fine without her there.
I think, you know, especially, at least in my opinion, from the games that I've seen, Bonsteel's been great. I mean, absolutely. As a freshman to come out and make an impact like that, Cass Turner's got to be happy.
Absolutely.
Well, one of the other young players on this team is sophomore Abby Ives. She has some big shoes to fill this year after Sydney Rossman graduated. So how would you guys evaluate her play so far in 2017? MJ, take it away.
To be honest with you, Brian, I think she's been okay. I mean, sometimes you got to look at the stats, but at the same time, I think stats can be deceiving. So here are 4 stats all about Ives, and they're kind of, you know, very deceiving. Top 10 in goals against average of goalies in the nation who have played 5 games. Wow, that's a great stat. You know, top 10. Well, she's 11th in the ECAC in save percentage, and there's only 13 goalies on that list right now. So, again, good and bad. Good again, Quinnipiac defense is only middle of the pack as in terms of team defense, but the past 2 years, they've been number 2 in the nation, so that's really not Ives' fault necessarily. But then you look at a bad stat, Quinnipiac has 5 losses in games that Ives started. So there's good and bad stats. You could, you know, really mold them however you want to pick out the good or pick out the bad in someone. So when it comes to Ives, I think she's been all right. She's done what she needs to do, nothing more, and I think that more categories where she needs to trend in order to fill those shoes of someone like Brian said, Sydney Rossman.
Absolutely, and I think in terms of, you know, filling those shoes of Rossman, I think she's been doing, like you said, an okay job. I mean, we do have to give credit to the fact that she was named ECAC Goaltender of the Week last week. So that's, I mean, last week. So I think that's let's take a look at her positives. Let's take a look at her accomplishments. She had the 37 saves against Providence, which was huge. That's like the first time I really looked at her and I was like, wow, this girl is really putting on for her team. She's doing a good job. But like you said, 11 goals allowed, and there's just a lot of flaws within her stats, and we can't just get too crazy about the effort she has been making.
She plays both games this week and she plays one game this week and gets pulled in the first, doesn't play the second. Allison Small plays. So we'll see how the goaltending situation goes, Brian.
Absolutely.
Melissa Samoskevich has also been struggling to find the back of the net. With only 1 goal this year, why has she been struggling since her breakout freshman season? Naomi, start with this one.
I think, like I mentioned earlier, there's just a lot of players being able to just completely pick up where she's left off. I can't really put a big point on where she's been struggling because every time I see her, I feel like her efforts has been there. She made those 10 shots against Dartmouth. I mean, that was a terrible game because that's when, their goalie saved 61 shots. But aside from that, like, she is making those efforts. She has, put up at least 2 assists prior to making her to delivering that goal this weekend. So I think that her efforts are definitely there, but I think that there have been other players who have been stepping up, and she's been kind of taking a seat in the back burner.
So here's my thing with Samoskevich. Here's my take. She's had fantastic freshman and sophomore years, and she only has 5 points through 11 games. So if you do the math, she's on pace for 20-ish points this season. I would obviously assume, or venture to guess, that would be more than 20. But the big thing for me is she doesn't have TT Cianfrano on the ice, who we talked about before. And this thing in sports, I'm going to make an analogy here, or a comparison. The New York Giants.
Oh, man, we can't. Lord, I can't do this.
Odell Beckham goes down, along with many other things, trust me. And Josh Silverman can tell you all about those things. But here's what I'm trying to get at. Eli hasn't been the same. I get it. He doesn't have the targets to throw to. He has, Evan Ingram? Okay? One target and a couple running backs. So, again, this is kind of a flawed argument here, but it's the same thing with Samo and TT, at least in my mind. Samo is the best player on the ice right now, so the opponents, all they have to do is shut her down. When TT's on the ice, well, it's a little harder. You now have to either play, somewhere in between, or you have to pick one. Shut down Samo, shut down TT. And as soon as TT can get back on the ice, I think Samoskevich's numbers will go up right alongside TT's numbers because they work so well together. And they're really a duo that's hard for other teams to stop because, like I said, you ultimately have to pick one. It's hard to stop both.
But does that kind of end her glory days, the fact that she had such good years and she can't play as good as she was because another player's not on the ice? I mean, she has to step up.
Right, she does. She certainly does. It's hard to do when you're the best player out there and everyone on the other team is just trying to shut you down in the offensive zone. But I do agree. Her numbers need to go up.
Absolutely.
All right, well, we'll see. It's been a blast, guys. MJ and Naomi, thanks for joining me. Coming up, Chris Dacey and Drew Feinberg will take their seats at the desk to discuss the best of the fall season. We'll be right back. Bobcat Breakdown, presented by the Quinnipiac Bobcat Sports Network.
We are your source for debate.
Did they make the playoffs last year, Tom Schenker?
When it clicks, it clicks.
We dissect Quinnipiac athletics on a scale you've never seen before.
With Tobia, it almost looks like she's reaching a little bit.
Plus, we bring in the biggest names surrounding college sports.
We are live here at the Times Union Center with Jay Billis.
And of course, some comedy.
But you can only have so much arena food.
I think you're crazy.
Bobcat Breakdown.
Tuesdays at 9:30.
Coming up on #that, we talk about some fun events around Quinnipiac's campus.
And we talk about some weird news that's been discussed around Twitter.
All that and more, we are your source for Quinnipiac's entertainment news.
Hello, and tonight on Sandwich News, we will determine what makes a good sandwich and a bad sandwich. First, the standard sandwich. Uninspired, and frankly, a little gross. But we have here a Ray and Mike sandwich, the Cadillac of sandwiches. And if you want one, well,
come on down to Ray and Mike's at 3030 Whitney Ave, Hamden, Connecticut. Open every day from 6 a.m. to 10 p.m. QCash is accepted.
now that's a sandwich.
Whether you're on the quad,
in your room,
or heading to class,
tune in to Q30 News.
For stories by student journalists you can trust.
We are covering the latest here on campus and in surrounding areas.
Get the news you need to know every Wednesday night.
Hey there, welcome back to Bobcat Breakdown. Quinnipiac fall sports are nearing their completion, and Chris Stacy and Drew Feinberg are here to choose the best of the season. Guys, how are we?
Oh, just doing amazing. Even happier to be next to this guy right here.
Yes, let's get started. Let's talk about some spring sports, or fall sports.
He doesn't even know. He doesn't even know.
I'm ready though. I'm ready.
Let's begin with the goalies. Chris, you could start with this one. Who is your top Quinnipiac goalie of the fall?
Livy Golini. That's easy. That's easy. She's a sophomore. She's already a captain. She started all 18 games this year. She's played all 18. She played pretty much every game in her career, and she's my top goalie this year. She's a sophomore, like I said, captain. She has
said that.
Yes, I did say that. She's a leader, if not the leader. She's also an orientation leader. Fun fact for you. So she's a leader off the field as well.
Okay.
So she brings that experience. She had 2 shutouts this year, 92 total saves, and she's playing in the Big East. So.
Well, I'm going to have to go with Chris Yakovitis of the men's soccer team. Third in the MAC in goals against average with an .899 goals against average. 9 shutouts during the season, more than Galini. Also, Galini is, I'd say, a mid-range goalie at best. She's 5th in saves in the Big East with 92, 6th in saves per game with a 5.11 saves per game, 8th in save percentage in the Big East. I don't know how you could say that Galini's the best goalie in all of fall sports.
You have to. You're forgetting that she's playing in the Big East, and this is their second year in the Big East. Granted that, but that's one of, if not the best conference for field hockey in the country. So she's playing with the best of the best. So you saw. I mean, you saw some of these highlights against UConn. Those players are no joke.
No, of course.
That's why I say she's the best goalie. She's playing against the best competition, and no offense against Yakovitis, but he's playing against the MAC. That's not the best competition in the country. Livy Golini is playing against the best competition in the country.
Well, we're not talking about better competition. We're talking about who's a better goalie. And I'd say
between
the two, Yakovitis is a better goalie.
Okay,
overall.
but if you put Livy Golini in the MAC, she's obviously had that experience against better competition.
She's not in the MAC.
Let's say that she is in the MAC, because Quinnipiac used to be in the MAC for field hockey. So if you put her there, she's definitely going to stand out amongst most of the goalies in that, if not all the goalies in the MAC. So that's why I say she's the better goalie here.
All right, we're
better
just going to have to agree to disagree as always.
I agree with Chris. I think Livy Golini is the best goalie of the fall.
Hey, there it is.
What are you
So
gonna
there you
do?
go,
You
Chris.
can't have them all.
Staying on the defensive side, Drew, who's your best defender of the fall?
Well, I'm going to have to kind of spin this one a little bit. It's going to be Alejandra Rodriguez, who's not technically a defender, but is. She has 236 digs for the women's volleyball team. That leads the team, 2.99 digs per game. She's the libero for the team. And when this team needs defense, which they do right now with all the injuries they've been having, I'd say that she is the best defender.
Drew, I kind of went along with your lines too. I picked someone that's part of the defense technically, but not really, and I went with Chris Yakovitis.
Oh, well, I mean, you kind of agreed with me.
Yeah,
in a way, you agreed with me.
But no, but Livy Golini is still the best better goalie. But I still think Chris Yakovitis, and the men's soccer team obviously was picked to finish first in the MAC this year. And they've been up and down all year. Granted, they did have a tough out-of-conference schedule, but the one bright spot I've seen throughout this entire season has been Chris Yakovitis. I've been to many men's soccer games this year, and you just know he's there. He's the leader on that team, as he should be as a goalie. But it really is a presence. He has held his goals against average is .98, so that's pretty good. And also, like I said, the tough out of conference schedule. So he's played better competition, like I said, like Livy Golini has played some of the best competition in the country. So that's why I say he's the best defender so far in the fall.
Thank you for defending my claim from before.
Well, I said he was the best defender, not the best goalie. So
okay,
get your
whatever.
straight.
Okay.
All right, well, the fall is also full of the school's top scorers. So, guys, who is the top scorer of the fall season?
You go. You start this one.
Nadia Gill, of course. How can you not? I mean, just the way she can. Just the way she can score. She can score. She has 13 goals this year, and just the way she scores, it's just make you double take. Like, wow, that actually, yes, obviously they're goals too. They're in soccer, so it's just the way that she scores them is just unique amongst other people in the MAC. Like I was at the Marist game, she scored within like the first 5 minutes. I was like, wow, that is incredible. Like, and it's just something that you wouldn't expect to see on a MAC soccer field. It's just. She's so far ahead of some of this competition. It seems like that's how she had 13 goals, 30 goals in her career. Obviously, she is graduating at the end of this year after 3 years, so she's done here at Quinnipiac. But I would say she's the top scorer of the fall season.
I I'm going to disagree with you. I agree with you that she is a great scorer and a great scorer for the women's soccer team, but I'd say the biggest scorer in terms of fall sports is Alona Marr of the women's rugby team. Last year's National Player of the Year and an All-American. She had 19 tries, 15 assists last season. She has 14 tries this season. 2 previous national championships for her squad and a 2 seed in the NIRA tournament right now, and they're still playing. Is Nadia Gill still playing? No, she's not. Alona Marr is still playing.
But, like, granted, I mean, like, they already had their playoffs. Rugby is still starting their playoffs.
Fair enough.
So,
but 2-time national champions looking to go 3 in a row. She's still playing. She's still producing for this team. So she's the best scorer in terms of fall sports.
Can't argue with that.
It's tough. I think that one could go both ways, but Drew, I'm going to have to agree with Chris again. I have not been Gill for that one.
Let's go.
That stings. That really does sting.
All right, well, there's a ton of top coaches at this school. Eric DaCosta, Dave Clark, Becky Carlson, Chris Czaplinski, Becca Main, all in this fall season. Who was the best coach?
I'm going to have to go with Dave Clark. I know I just kind of said that the women's soccer team is no longer playing, but he has led the team with his coaching to two previous MAC tournaments. This year they made it to the semifinals. Last year they made it to the
But
finals.
here's the thing, dude. Everyone makes the MAC tournament this year because it's in Florida.
Okay.
So that's just a gimme. Like, I don't like...
You're telling me he's a bad coach,
Because I can
though?
be St. Peter's, I can be last in the MAC and still... I'm not saying he's a bad coach, but I'm saying this, like, if you're going to use that point, I could be St. Peter's and be last in the MAC, and I still made the MAC tournament. So, like,
But they made it to the semifinals.
I know,
if
but
they
I'm
didn't,
just saying that...
this could be a whole other story, but they did. So is he a bad coach in your eyes?
I never said he was a bad coach. Like I just said, if you were listening, I never said he was a bad coach.
I'm listening.
Okay. Do you have anything else to say, or can I go?
I mean, you can go. You seem like you're
I'm going to go with the rugby coach, is Becky Carlson. So kind of like flip-flopped again, but like back-to-back champion, obviously.
Yeah.
And then the second seed, they got a home playoff game against Norwich. 5-0 at home this year. They finally got a home field, and they took advantage of it. They defended home field. They're 5-0, like I said, so they're going. And I am just a huge Becky Carlson fan.
I'd just say I'd say most of the fall sports are just stacked with amazing coaches.
Yeah.
They really are, but Drew, you're wrong again.
Oh my goodness, I can't get anything right.
Yeah.
I can't get anything.
To me, it's not
I'm just
even
gonna have
close.
to tap out. I just can't get anything right tonight.
You are good.
All right, last but not least is the uniforms. Quinnipiac went through a rebranding earlier this year, which means all new threads for their teams. So which one had the best jersey?
I'm going to start. I got this one.
Okay.
I'm going to go with the field hockey team. Like, those are just so fresh.
Wait, which ones are we talking about?
I'm talking about the plaid.
The white ones?
That fades into the white.
I'm a sucker for the plaid. Okay.
I think that looks so nice and just so clean. It's so clean. I like it so much. What about you?
So I'm actually going with the rugby, not the new ones they got, the new white ones they got, the old ones they got with like the Bobcat like clawing across the chest. I think those look so cool. They're different from anything you've ever seen, and you've never like you look at all these rugby uniforms. You look at the ones they have now. It's just a white shirt that says Quinnipiac across it. Like, are you kidding me? You're gonna go from those ones, who probably arguably the best jersey in women's rugby right now, and you're just going to go to a plain white T-shirt that says Quinnipiac across the chest. If I had one of those jerseys, I would be rocking that on campus all the time. They are so fresh.
All right.
I think. What do you like? You don't like them?
I just think field hockey is a little better.
Drew, you're going to like me now because I agree with you.
Yeah, there we go.
I just want to say that this man has agreed with everything that has been field hockey so far, so I think he has like a little crush on the field.
I like clean jerseys. I think the white with the plaid, I think it works perfectly. I think the rugby ones are a little bit too much with the claw. It's a little bit too much for me.
Dude,
I like simple. I like simple.
I'm not.
Brian, I love
so if you like simple, you like these white jerseys they have right now? Those are so boring, dude.
They're simple.
It's a
they do it.
billboard.
They're perfect. Well, that's all the time we have tonight. I'm sorry, Chris. I'm really sorry. Glad you could join us for this extended episode of Bobcat Breakdown. Be sure to follow us on Twitter at Q30Sports and at QBSN. For more information on the fall postseason in Quinnipiac basketball and hockey, visit Q30TV.com. For Chris Dacey, Drew Feinberg, MJ Baird, Naomi Gray, Josh Silverman, and Dylan Fearon, I'm Brian Schwartz. We'll see you next time on Bobcat Breakdown.